Welcome, everyone. This is Debbie Ferris from the School of Information at San Jose State University. I'm the faculty advisor for our ALA student chapter, and this year we've been hosting a series of sessions where you can hear each of the candidates for ALA president speak about their platforms and also respond to questions. I'm very pleased today to introduce James LaRue. He's joining us, and I wanted to let you know that he has been the director of the Douglas County Libraries, headquartered in Castle Rock, Colorado, since 1990. He's the author of The New Inquisition, Understanding and Managing Intellectual Freedom Challenges, and he wrote a weekly newspaper column for over 25 years. He was the Colorado Librarian of the Year in 1998, and in 2007 won the Julie J. Boucher Award for Intellectual Freedom. He's a frequent keynote speaker for library associations, and he's been a featured presenter, moderator, and facilitator for a variety of libraries and other organizations. So with that introduction, I'll turn the mic over to you, Jamie, and welcome.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate the chance to meet with you all. I'm going to just kind of race through a few things and then take questions that you might have. First, as I came back from midwinter, one of the issues that I heard from many of our membership was a sense that ALA has grown very large and gotten a little on the fragmented side. And there was almost this JFK talk going on, like, so what's ALA going to do for me? And I finally realized that what ALA has been trying to do through its strategic plan is to say, instead of trying to delegate everything up to ALA, it's time for us to get organized around a few big ideas. And the big ideas for ALA's strategic plan is advocacy, something that clearly affects every one of us in whatever division, committee, or roundtable we're associated with. The second is information policy, because there's so much that's changing now that, really requires some thoughtful staking out of principled ground. And then the last one is that we look to our Association for Professional Leadership Development. In fact, I left Douglas County about a year ago, January of 2014, to become an independent writer, speaker, and consultant about what I think of as the future of libraries. And so what I've decided is that there are three key trends that I believe are transformative for our profession and for our communities. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about those, because this would be the focus of my presidency should I be fortunate enough to be elected. So the first one is the idea is that we need to move from embedded librarian to community leader. All of us have seen kind of a decline in the traditional reference of waiting passively behind a desk. Those questions have dropped off. When they do come, they're tougher. They tend not to be quick reference and much deeper. But we've learned that if we really want to stay relevant and demonstrate library skills to our communities, we have to leave the building. And so I've put together kind of a process, and I would like to talk more about that as an ALA president, to urge librarians to say, get out of the building. Let's identify the key leaders within our community, where community could be school, could be university, could be city, could be county, could be a corporation or a not-for-profit. But identify those leaders, go out and do deep reference interviews with them. What are the issues of their constituents? How have they filtered the real concerns of the people that they serve? Then catalog and track those key issues. And then pull all of the people that have been interviewed back from a meeting to say, okay, I heard all these things from you. Did we get that right? And what does that say about the development of a community agenda? At that point, librarians move from just being, yeah, we helped you find some resources, to saying, no, now we're working at a much higher level. We're trying to really understand our operating environment. We're trying to convene the leaders, and we're actively trying to create a community agenda. Then I believe librarians should pick a high-profile, high-impact project, something that really fits the library mission, deliver on it, and then tell everybody in the world what you just did. We used a very similar process to this in Douglas County Libraries, and I believe we made significant changes in the environment around us, and we earned all kinds of support from people that hadn't thought of libraries as players before. So this is one of the real thrusts, is turning outward, not just waiting in the building, but getting out in the community, however described, and making a difference. The second big thing that I'm seeing is what I call from a movement from gatekeeper to gardener. We know that digital content has just exploded. We've seen independent publishers, self-published scholarly writing, the open access movement, and most of that stuff, most of that new content that's coming out of the digital publishing revolution isn't in our libraries. We haven't found a way to really begin to track this. And at the same time, the big players, big five in the public world, you know, the big journals in the academic world, they've created some significant new business problems for us. We have given up ownership, we gave up discounts, and thus took a big hit in our purchasing power. We sacrificed the user experience because it was no longer integrated with our holdings. It wound up being all these silos. And so I believe if we want to stay relevant here, we have to take some very specific steps. First, we need to reach out and understand what's going on with that indie, self-published scholarly movement. And then we need to help them make it better. One of the things we did at Douglas County was have a big button there that said, so you want to write a book? And everybody clicked it because it turns out that every human being on the planet wants to write a book. But then the second button said, do you want to write a good one? And that's different. And libraries now can move from being just distributors of content to actually helping people write better books, make better movies, make better music, make better art. And we've seen this in everything from Chicago's YouTube, working for teens, where you teach kids how to make stuff, upload it with a library brand, or many successful self-publishing support groups that are springing up in libraries around the country. And then finally, I think that as long as we are held hostage to a few key vendors, we're going to be in trouble. So librarians need to kind of build on this DPLA sort of model and build and manage our own regional hubs where we control the content. And I think that this really makes us from, again, being this passive recipients of what the market dictates to us, to actively influencing the market. I know that this works. We built it in Douglas County. It was very successful. And then finally, this is something that's an issue of great importance to me coming from my own background. I was a blue-collar kid. Parents didn't have a lot of money, and the library saved my life. And what I'd like to do is to move us from book deserts to book oases, or book deserts to book abundance. And the idea is this: we can track through various kinds of online research tools what we call book deserts, which means there are fewer than 25 books in the home. Moving to a book oasis means this. There was a 2010 study that came out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, a woman named Mariah Evans and some others, a 20-year study of 27 different countries. And they found that if we can get 500 books into the home of a 0 to 5-year-old, it's as good as having 2 parents with master's degrees. And that means regardless of their educational level, regardless of their economic level, that reading readiness, that early emergent literacy, leads to reading readiness by grade kindergarten, leads to reading fluency by grade 4, and that leads to a host of things. You don't go to jail. You're more likely to be free. You're healthier as a child. You live longer as an adult. You get all the way through college and you make more money. There is nothing else we can do as powerful as really embracing early literacy and reaching out to the parents to let them know that there is something within their reach that can transform their lives. So those are the key things that I'm working on, and I think if we can stay focused on these issues and really market them, we can make a difference in our profession and in our societies. Again, why me? But I think the thing that distinguishes me from some of the ALA candidates this time, whom I know them all and I like them all quite a lot, but my work has been on focusing not just talking to librarians, but talking with non-librarians. And that newspaper column for 25 years, try to explain all the things that are happening in libraries in words that everybody gets. That was fun, and I got a lot of practice at it. We also launched something we call BHAG Colorado, where when a terrible constitutional amendment was proposed in Colorado that would have rolled back library funding by about a third. And so rather than waiting for that to happen, librarians got together and organized a powerful campaign based on the latest brain research about how to change people's minds, how to reach into them and say the public sector actually matters, to touch their hearts and then to engage their minds. And that involved recruiting a lot of non-librarians to speak on our behalf. And I'm very pleased to say that that constitutional effort failed in every county in the state, and I think libraries had a lot to do with that. I've worked in a lot of community leadership positions, things like the Douglas County Youth Initiative, things like leadership training for business people. I was the president of our Economic Association, Development Association, in a couple of communities. And ultimately what I'm trying to work on here is to say, let's do a shift from a focus on individual transactions and individual transformation to really being players in our community, really helping them to thrive and to become healthier and more productive. Ultimately, this is about looking outward. It's building a new network of supporters among those community leaders that we reached out with through the community reference idea, among authors and content creators by saying, we'll help you create better work and help you market it. And finally, among parents, because everything depends upon a literate society. For more information about all that stuff, and if you want to kind of track some greater in-depth information about my platform, LaRue for President, and beyond that, I'm happy to take any questions. That's the whirlwind view of what I believe. I think that we are in a time of extraordinary change and the most exciting time in the history of our profession. And I look forward to the opportunity to lead you. So, questions?
Jamie, thank you very much. Good. Beth, go ahead. You've got the first question.
Hi, Jamie. I just wanted to know, ALA, as you said, is an extremely large, fragmented organization, and I've always had an issue with feeling connected to it.
Yeah.
Much better to be connected to the smaller ones where I see a little bit more impact of my membership. But I like your ideas, as I always have, but I wanted to know, how do you implement the changes that you'd like to make within the ALA structure?
I think that, we'll start with the one where ALA, let me back up and say it this way. As I've been interviewing former ALA presidents and ALA staff people, they say, imagine how difficult it is when every new president has a new initiative. And so if you're going to try to fulfill all these different things, isn't that really hard? And I think the answer is you have to build on existing initiatives. So for instance, the Digital Content Working Group did a good job of reaching out to the big 5 publishers in the public world who weren't even selling to libraries. After a lot of high-profile lobbying, meeting with business people, they got and said, okay, we will sell to libraries. Good step, but lots of work to be done because the prices are still outrageous. The licensing agreements for those big 5 are strange, and we are not moving into these new content creations. So what I would do is I would say, okay, well now let's go back to the Digital Content Working Group, and now let's identify all those independent publishers who offer far more attractive business deals for libraries. So let's reward them. Let's pull them up in front of ALA at a conference and give them the big conferences and encourage our members to buy from them because they can buy more books. For instance, the Smashwords.com. When we purchased those books from for Douglas County Libraries, the average author price was $4. And so not enough libraries know about this. We have an opportunity to really explore things. Moving to the idea about libraries as community leaders, we've had a lot of leadership initiatives where we talk about advocacy, but clearly advocacy isn't working. Advocacy as currently taught has resulted in fewer and fewer libraries making it to the ballot or winning when they do, a decline in academic library funding. So clearly we need another approach. And I would try to work with the existing network of advocacy training to say, let's make this shift to say, now we're going to go out and nurture relationships with leaders and help them understand that we're a social asset to larger causes rather than just one more person to hold their hand out and say, give us money. And finally, we have a lot of focus on early literacy, but it doesn't seem to have gotten beyond the teacher community and the public library community, story times. We really need a focused outreach. I think we could take our, excited new students and say, we're going to bombard every parent's magazine in the United States with well-written, well-researched, well-told stories that say, if you want your child to be healthy, if you want them to be free, if you want them to get through school and make money, this would be life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Turn to your library. So that's my approach, Beth. I hope that makes sense. other comments or questions?
I have a question for you. Since I work with the students in our student chapter, I wondered if you could talk a little bit about some reasons that students should get involved in ALA now, even while they're still in school.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. One of the classes that I taught as adjunct faculty for the University of Denver was a class I called Library as Publisher. And I said, what I want you to do is, let's go out and, find an experiment here, where the library is not just buying things and circulating them, but it's working with people to develop them. And so it could be a Chicago U-Media kind of thing. It could be academic library trying to set up a repository. I said, I just encourage you to go out and do this. And then when they came back, I said, so instead of just a grade, I'm going to take the 3 best papers, and I'm going to publish them in the Public Libraries magazine to talk about experiments in the field, reports in the field. And my advice to young students is that, if you can find something where, you get a chance to go out and directly interview an organization whose values seem to be like yours, that's very good for finding work. You're putting yourself on somebody's radar. When you take something and you publish it and get it out in the field, you're contributing to this larger conversation that is so important to our profession. And because of that visibility, you get speaking opportunities, people come forward and want to talk to you, and you begin to build this network that not only advances your own career, but it makes you a better professional. And I believe that the sooner you get involved in this, and the sooner everyone who hires a new student and says, I'm going to invest in your professional development as a fundamental obligation of every institution, this will make our association and our profession much stronger.
Thank you very much. If there are other questions, please go ahead and raise a hand, or you can type questions into the chat window. In the meantime, I have another question that was previously submitted. I wonder if you could comment on what the future looks like for librarians and information professionals. I'm not just blowing smoke when I say this is the most exciting time in our history. As you go back and you look at the traditional expectation of libraries is that we gather, organize, and present to whatever our community is the intellectual content of our culture. And at this moment, we are significantly missing the boat. 5 years ago, there were 300,000 new titles published by mainstream publishers every year. Well, now, like in the past year, it's up over 1.3 million. So we don't know much about this content. And I think at the same time we're trying to grapple with this explosion of writing and finding some ways to get our arms around that. We are uniquely qualified to do that. We're also seeing this shift where, whether it's an academic library, a school library, or a public library, there's a social hub function. There's this kind of conversation function that hasn't happened in the past. And I think that as I've traveled around and looked at communities, there is such a powerful thirst in our society to get connected. And at present, I think the yelling that goes on back and forth, the 50-50 splits, is kind of an unsustainable thing for society. And having a group of professionals who say, we are tracking the ideas and stories of our culture, we're building common and neutral ground, we're trying to find a way to pull together our university community, our school community, our civic community. We are uniquely qualified to do this. So I believe that there has never been a better time for someone to become a librarian or to exercise our skills in the most transformative period in human culture. Thanks very much. I don't see any other questions right now. So I think we're coming to the end of our question period. And what I'll do is turn it back over to you, Jamie, for any concluding remarks you'd like to make. Thanks.
Well, I thank you very much for this. And I think the main thing that I want to underscore probably goes all the way back to our first slide. We have 4 candidates this time, and that's a very unusual thing in our history, and I have to believe that it's a good one. As I go back and take a look at the voting results for ALA, we're somewhere around 16 to 18%, which I believe is a travesty. If our profession is important, then the leadership of the profession is important. So I encourage you, whether you vote for me or not, vote. the ballots are going out, I believe, today. So this is March 23rd, right? March 23rd, which is a Monday. And everything is due on May 2nd. So I strongly urge you to dive in and do the research and take a look at the candidates and make a statement about where you think the American Library Association should go. And thank you very much for your time and this opportunity.
Thanks to you. We appreciate being able to learn more about your candidacy and your ideas, your plans. Thank you to all who participated by joining, and everyone get out there and vote. Thanks.
Thanks, Debbie.